Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today's lesson is moving straight ahead 4.3. And 4.3 is all about exploring patterns with lines. The lesson is on page 75, and it's problems A through E. And the ACE problems are 16 through 31. And our learning target for this lesson is that I can create parallel and perpendicular lines with slope alone. Okay, and as we know, slope is just an indication of the steepness of a line. And creating parallel lines with equations, for your notes, you're going to need to put in creating parallel lines with equations, and I have to fix this, I think. Lines can be parallel if they have the same slope. They do not need to have the same y-intercept. So how do I create a parallel line? Well, a parallel line is just a line that runs along another line. So for instance, if I've got y equals 2x, well, what does that mean? That means I start here at 0, I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, because remember, 2x is just the same thing as 2 over 1, with 2 being my rise, 1 being the run. And if I create those dots and put them together, I can create a parallel line like so, right? Or I'm sorry, just a line like so. I haven't created a parallel line yet. A parallel line runs alongside it. And as long as I make sure my line has the same slope, they will never intersect. So I got this new equation, y equals 2x. Notice they've got the same slope, the same coefficient, but this one is plus 2, meaning I've got to start at plus 2 right here. Okay, got a little bit of a head start, but it has the same exact pattern. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And then, if I have those lines and I graph them, I create parallel lines. As long as they've got the same slope, they will never intersect. Okay? Now, what happens when we want to create a perpendicular line? And a perpendicular line, remember, is a line that intersects at exactly 90 degrees. Well, we can do that too. And we can do that by making an opposite, a reciprocal slope. Okay? So for instance, if I have this first equation, okay, this just showing you is a little bit better. The first equation here is y equals negative 1/2 x. Okay? So I take negative 1/2 x. Well, that means I start here. And negative 1/2, well, I got to go down 1, okay, because it's negative 1, negative rise, over 2. Negative 1 over 2. And when I graph that out, I get a line that looks kind of like this, going in both directions there, right? But I want to flip that around. Now, right now, I am going negative 1 for my rise, and I'm doing 2 for my run. What I want to do is flip that guy around so that I go 2 for my rise, positive 2, right, because I want to be the opposite, and 1 for my run. And to do that, I have 2 over 1x, or I could just say 2x, right? So I still start at 0, but in this case, again, it's the opposite. Okay? I rise 2, I go over 1. I rise 2, I go over 1. And when I graph that guy, I create a line that is perfectly perpendicular. Now this is just sort of an exploration lesson, right? I don't want you to think you're going to have to get all of this 100% down. Most of this is just noticing these patterns. You're going to be learning how to identify these patterns later on in your education when you take some geometry classes in middle school and high school. Okay? But let's move on. The next thing we're going to do is make some shapes. We're going to combine parallel lines and perpendicular lines and make us some rectangles. Okay? So first, let's make some parallel lines. I've got y equals negative 1/2 x. Okay, y equals negative 1/2 x. Well, what is that going to give me? Well, I start here at 0, and I got to go down 1 over 2, right? Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And I make a line. Okay? Did that first line? Check. But now I want to make a line parallel to that. I have to have the exact same slope of negative 1/2 x, but I want it to have a different y-intercept. I want to be a little higher or a little lower. So I'm going to be at positive 2. So I'm going to start here at positive 2, but I'm going to follow that exact same pattern. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And connecting those dots, okay, I end up getting my parallel lines, right? Okay, well now I want the opposite of 1/2. Okay, we take that 1/2, and instead of having a 1/2, we flip it around and make it 2 over 1. And instead of it being negative, we make it positive. And that's how we get 2 over 1x, or just 2x, and I start here. I go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. And connecting those dots, I now have one of my perpendicular sides here. But I want to create a line parallel to that one. So again, I just use that same slope of 2x, but I'm going to make it like plus 3 or negative 5, some other y-intercept. In this case, I'm going to do plus 3. So I start at plus 3, and I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And maybe I'll even go back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2. You get the pattern though. And once I do, it creates a line parallel to that second one, or that third one I should say. And inside there, I'll do this in a different color here. Inside, I've created a little box, right? By putting those coordinates in. Okay? So, what we've done is we've made our very first construction using these equations. You'll be making some more complicated ones as you go on in your education, but this is just a little baby step. Okay, and your lesson is 4.3, Exploring Patterns with Lines. Lesson number is page 75, A through E, and the ACE problems 16 through 31. Have fun.